What's up, everybody? Another crazy week. Trump's getting arrested. Putin and Xi Jinping are somehow best friends, and Jazz Jennings in the news everywhere because they just can't figure out who they really are after all the experiments that have been done. Stick around. Don't you know, Roddy? Northwick Lottie.
I love Scottish accents.
Yeah, one of our producers, Mike, is probably laughing right now, going, "Oh, mate, that's actually a Northampton. It's actually a Northampton accent. That's not even English."
Say Northampton the right way.
Northampton. Northampton. Why do I feel like everything sounded cooler 100 years or 200 years ago? I feel like if somebody showed up, everything mattered back then.
That's true.
Nothing matters now.
You know
her dad's a big guy. I don't care. He's not allowed to touch me if I touch his daughter because it's illegal or something. But he's a general. I don't care. He can't do anything about it. Like, everybody thinks that they're like untouchable. And so like male dominance and like your prowess and stuff, like General Northampton and General Cornwallis are coming to an occasion near you. And like all the women and the men are like, we must get the town ready for this event. And now it's just like, nothing cares. Everybody, like, even me, if I met like a big hotshot, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, what's up, dude? I don't honor people like I feel like they did 200 years ago.
But don't you think because of like the decay of our culture, we're not looking at those people as like, oh wow, I really look up to you, whether it be celebrity, politician. Like if Biden came, you see when he goes to certain towns, nobody's excited about him coming. Like when Trump comes to certain towns, everybody, the streets are
people
packed.
do show up, they are excited because he earns the kind of honor in people's minds for being something. Did you ever see the video of Biden's inauguration?
No.
The crowd size?
No.
I saw it last week on Twitter.
Really?
It is almost nobody.
Oh.
I literally mean less than like 300 people.
Less? Oh, but they're going to blame it on
COVID.
the pandemic.
Right,
yeah.
of course.
Well, and that's just it. Like going back to what we were saying, like cultural decay and everything. You were saying 200 years ago was everything better besides like the awesome accents and things like that. But I was thinking about this. Do you think that maybe just every generation thinks the other one
sucked a little bit?
Sucked.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel
like a larger version of, well, back in my day, it's right. Like, but that time's like 100 years, and it's just kind of like nothing's cool.
Right. I feel like I've kind of been doing that, and I've been stopping myself and reflecting, and I'm like, well, maybe we should have hope. This is almost like a little bit of giving myself hope too, because I'm starting to think of the way that I've heard boomers and I don't know all the generations, Gen X, are talk about us millennials. Like I've seen them talk about us like that, and I feel like, I think a lot of people are rising to the occasion or to things, and I think that, people could be worse. And now we're looking at Gen Z like, oh man, my generation, we had this and we had that. Like I'm doing the same thing. So maybe there's hope that generation will be not so bad as we're making it out to be. Do you kind of get where I'm going? Like I'm kind of making a catastrophe in my head, much like the boomers did with us or the Gen Xers did with us.
Well, I guess the statistic do you base whether you're disappointed or not disappointed in a generation on? Is it work ethic? Is it ability to be masculine or really feminine?
Right.
Is it your ability to look pretty as a girl? Is it your ability to accomplish things as a community? Like what's the feature that a boomer would look at our generation and go, they're not up to snuff? I think it would be hard work, grit, kind of like you're kind of all wussies, you know what I mean? And then like ability to like conquer things or something like be strong and whatever, right? Like that's what I look at generations just getting wussier. But I don't think that's generations. I think that's government manipulation of minds to make everybody literally more docile and dependent on the government so that there is none of that.
Maybe then you're right. Then maybe it would have some statistical like support, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I look at younger generations now and I get a little concerned, I'm like, oh no, because statistically there's a lot of crazy stuff, like as far as like how many are in the LGBTQ movement. I think it's like 20% or something like that for the newest generation or whatever.
But it might not stay that way.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Not even the hope, just what I'm and like nothing wrong with being LGBTQ, but obviously if you guys think about it in a really simple way, that has to mean that civilization is not thriving population-wise,
Right.
because 20% of the people aren't procreating, right? And there's the largest amount of abortions ever. So anyway, but what I was saying is the people that are trying to make everybody weak and docile and everything like that, they have not realized that the rebellion culture is to be counterculture. What's the
Right.
government wants you to do? Not
Right.
work out, be dependent, and drink, don't like meat and eggs and milk. Okay, what do you think they're all going to do? They're all going to like meat and
like,
eggs and milk.
yeah,
All the dumb kids are vaping. I'm going to be straight edge then.
Right.
That's the rebellious nature of
We're
every
so
youth.
rebellious. Yeah. Or just as human beings. I feel like we have, as human beings, a rebellious nature. I think God talks about that in the Bible,
Sure.
or they talk about that in the Bible, about just our tendency to be rebellious. And it's so true.
I mean, kids wake up saying no. You know, like I think everybody's like that, you know?
Yeah.
And then they have to be basically broken into thinking that they're supposed to say yes, you know, which is one of the things I raised my daughter really specifically because she's very defiant. She's very defiant. And it's really inconvenient being a parent of a defiant child. But it's only inconvenient for 18 years. And then it's incredibly beneficial that she's that way, that she thinks for herself and won't just be told what to do. I have to explain why I'm telling her why I'm telling her to do it, how it's actually going to help her in the long run, and then she'll agree with me and she'll do it.
Well,
but I appreciate that way more than somebody like my oldest daughter will just be like, "Yes, daddy," and she'll do whatever I want, which there's an appreciation for that too, okay? But I think that if there was an apocalypse, I'd be trusting old middle child because she's like, don't tell me what to do.
Well, and you said, oh, it's only a problem for 18 years. If you raise them good, it won't be a problem in your household.
Right. It's not a problem for me.
Defiance or
I just meant
whatever.
it's a bother.
No, I know what you're saying.
It's
like
difficult.
to question
Right.
something or question authority or why are we doing this?
Right.
And
it's
then,
only
like,
inconvenient to me for so
Right.
long, and then it's really beneficial that she was that way. So I'm not going to smash her and make her. I'm not going to break her and make her submit to me, because that's what boomers would have done. Boomers would have said, "You're going to listen, or I'm going to spank you until you do. I'll break
and
you."
we still rebelled.
Right, and you some of them.
Oh,
But you still rebel, or you rebel worse.
Wait,
And that's when you see all the Catholic girls that go to they finally go to college, and then they end up boning the whole football team or whatever because like, screw my dad, I'm mad at him.
Well, no, I think you're actually onto something, because boomers, you're right. Boomers would be like, we're gonna what's that called in the school?
Switch.
Or no, the
Paddle.
Yeah, like that. A paddle. I know the word. I'm trying to. There's another word. Anyway.
Ruler, paddle.
Yeah, something like that. And they would have beat it out of you. So what did Gen Xers do? You have the hippies, the LSD, they really went off the deep end, and a lot of them. So that actually makes sense. When you try to force it in them,
right,
they're going to be rebellious, and then you kind of have a little
bit. But then
bit
the pendulum
exactly
swinging now, where it's like we don't discipline at all, and all of our kids are fat and have blue hair and literally change gender every 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You know. So
and then the normal ones around them are kind of seeing this and going, okay, well, I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to approach it a little differently. And then when they get grown up, and then, or they get grown up, they grow up and they say, okay, I'm not going to do that because my mom let me do whatever the heck I wanted and let my friend do whatever the heck she wanted. Her mom did that, and she's a mess. And all the people that I know like that are a mess. So I'm going to raise my kids different.
With a little bit more sternness or a little bit more whatever. Yeah, the world, though, the history has a way of kind of correcting itself as long as you recognize the wound that was done and fix it and don't overcorrect and cause damage. You know,
right,
like
exactly.
That's the thing with wounded people that they tend to do is they overcorrect and then they cause damage in the other direction. Like if you had really mean parents, you're overly okay with your kid doing anything.
Or being walked all over.
Whereas, and so it's like the pendulum, you can't allow the pendulum that would swing to swing as far as you would want it to swing.
Right.
That's the easy way of saying it. Somebody's got to go there and tell these kids what's going on. Speaking of deep, Jazz Jennings.
Well, not very deep without dilation. Okay. I'll be here all night. Anyway, so Jazz Jennings. First of all, we have to talk about who Jazz Jennings is in a short an explanation. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this person, but ever since this person, they were born a boy and then started getting on TV at about 5 or 6. They went on some like reality show or one of those shows like Maury or Oprah or something. Now they had TLC follow them throughout this person's life as he's grown up and now is a she. And we're talking gender transition and everything, all before the age of like 20. We're talking puberty blockers and everything. This is essentially the first trans kid that we're seeing grow up. Remember how we've always argued as conservatives that we don't know what's going to happen because these kids haven't grown up yet.
Right.
We're watching it live with this person. This is Jazz Jennings.
This is our sample.
However, the new season of Jazz Jennings, they are having a little bit of trouble.
So, are you feeling like you wanted to start talking about? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
I'm like I'm gonna cry. But
You know I can't get out of my head.
I know. Listen.
It just doesn't stop.
It's okay. Give me a hug. It's okay. I know what you're going through. We've been there before.
No, it still doesn't stop now. And I'm already going back to negative.
But the more you're talking about yourself, it gets harder. You're digging in and it's making you put a magnifying glass on what's already difficult as it is. So this is hard for you, I know, and we don't want to push you
I
anymore.
know I'm the one doing it. Like,
I know, you're your own worst enemy.
I feel kind of all over the place and like my mind is very cluttered and not clear. And I really want to have that clarity. I really want to understand myself and be able to read my own soul and what I want. It's just very challenging. And I think I'm kind of breaking down a little bit, spiraling into negativity.
I just want to feel like myself. Like, that's
Right.
it. I don't
Like the
care.
old Jazz?
All I want is to be happy and feel like me. And I don't feel like
What
me
is me?
ever.
Jazz Jennings says, I don't feel like myself ever. I don't feel like myself ever.
In a past life, if somebody was dealing with gender dysphoria, it was a mental illness, meaning that they had a mental illness.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they say that it doesn't go away, or that it actually, what's interesting is there's a study that is in the world. It's called WPATH. It's the 7th posting of it, the 7th version of the WPATH trans health, whatever. It basically explains like how to deal with transgender people or whatever. And it talks about 80 to 90% of people that have gender dysphoria don't persist in gender dysphoria into adulthood if they're left alone.
I have
So imagine you got a sex change as a child or later, and then the gender dysphoria would have persisted, but now you're actually in a different body.
I mean,
It seems like it would persist.
I almost like when I saw that clip and the way Jazz was explaining and like not feeling like I think cluttered was a very, very gentle word for what I feel like that person's feeling right now, because I don't even know how would you cope with that, with not feeling like that. And I think everyone doesn't want to say it, but we know exactly why Jazz is feeling that way. No one wants to say it, but they know in their head, and so does Jazz. We're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I cannot go back. Like, what is she thinking? What is she feeling? And I tried to put myself in there, and I felt almost, you know, that feeling you go down a roller coaster? Just for a second, I pictured myself, and I felt like that. Now,
Yeah, I mean, the fear that you would have or of like what the future is going to look like, because you know as well as I know, like as we get older, our bodies operating correctly and having like the appropriate testosterone, estrogen, and all that stuff really plays a role in how we do.
right.
Like in every sphere. You know what I mean?
And they would argue, well, we can just put it in by taking the hormones. They take them manually. So
Yeah,
that's
it's not quite
a
the same
problem.
thing though. It's not the
I
same
agree.
thing.
Yeah.
And that means you have to pay for it forever. That's the other thing that means. You're paying for something forever. Like you're basically a permanent subscriber to probably the government after a while, you know, because that's where they want this thing to head.
Well,
But so
actually-
isn't
oh,
this
sorry.
person, what didn't they transition as a child too?
Yes, that's what I was actually going to say. We're going to, this is Jazz as a teenager talking to her parents about a sex change.
I don't know. Can you see my vaginal canal?
Could we not be too graphic? Let's just focus on the education.
How much of mom's vagina have you seen? Be honest.
When we start discussing vaginas at the dinner table, I check out of the conversation.
It's not really dinner talk.
Can we get back on topic?
No, like, how much of a woman's vagina does a man actually see, or does he not, you know, inspect it? He just kind of goes for it. What? I actually think it's a good question. I want to know in the future, when I'm gonna have a vagina, how much is my partner gonna actually see?
I can't have this conversation.
Are they gonna like open up and take a magnifying glass like Dr. Reed?
In the past, we tried to have a conversation with Jazz about the birds and the bees, and she really didn't want to hear it.
So we came here, we wanted to talk to you about the birds and the bees.
Does it look like I'm really doing anything sexual?
Now she's asking you what my vagina looks like. We've come a long way, Greg.
I find that interesting that they had trouble talking about regular birds and bees stuff, but hey, sure, let's talk about slicing open your thing with like a banana peel, peeling it back, flipping it inside out. Sometimes they have to use rectal tissue, and that means you get rectal secretion still if you don't have enough penis tissue. You're okay with talking to Jazz about that, but regular stuff that parents should be talking to Jazz about, that's weird. That's, it's uncomfortable. This is weird. There's nothing normal about that at a dinner table from a young teenager. There's nothing normal about that, even if it was a young teen girl asking her father about that. That's what I was thinking when I watched it. Could you imagine at the dinner table asking your father a question like that?
I don't even know what to say.
No.
I watched that other thing, that Dr. Phil thing, where that guy's son came out and
Yes.
he looks
Oh,
like
he
a
cried.
linebacker and the dad's just weeping, or
Yes.
whatever. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Bring up the dilation video.
With her, I'm worried about her mental well-being and her dilation. The minute she leaves my house, we have a dilation problem.
That is a concern. When you don't have that watchful eye, they tend to go back to old patterns.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will. But Jazz is bad, even when I'm home once a day. I will be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up. I will wring her neck. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
This is recent, okay? How is this person supposed to grow up?
So they have to do this forever?
Yeah, forever. You have to do this like not you, the trans people have to do this 2 or 3 times a day. I
In
think that's
perpetuity
minimum.
to make sure that it doesn't ever seal.
Yes, because it will continue to constrict.
Attempt.
Yes, and try to close because it's your body's trying to heal, and that's what the mother was talking about. This person I think is 22.
It's almost like if you were to replace this video with a video about somebody with a handicapped kid, they're like, yeah, I have to feed him and clothe him and everything. And then we have to make sure we stick the tube down the side of his arm because he got in that accident when he was 3 and we've just had to take care of him ever since. Like, it's like you voluntarily selected to have this obvious encumbering issue.
I think removing it from the medical, you know how they're trying to get gender dysphoria removed from the medical book or dictionary or something like that. Have you seen that? There's a big push for that. Well, the problem with that is if you remove that gender dysphoria from the medical diagnostic, that's what it is, from the medical diagnostic dictionary, guess what? Insurance will stop paying for that stuff. You know that insurance is paying for this stuff. So meaning me as a regular woman, let's just say I was feeling very insecure and it mentally handicapped me. What if I'm feeling so depressed because I'm a flat-chested 15-year-old and I am having I need to have these implants, let's say 18. Okay, I can go and do it on my own. My insurance company says that's elective, sweetheart. Sorry, we don't care how much you're depressed and how much you're crying and for some reason, some women could be like this. Like they feel like they need that and they feel like it's too small and it's mentally effing with their head to the point of insanity. We're already kind of insane just on a, normal basis. Now add that, but no, the insurance company will not cover it. But for someone like Jazz,
In an instant.
when can we schedule you?
Right. At the taxpayer's expense.
Or your insurance company, whatever insurance company.
Right, which is usually at the other insurance
Benefit
premium payer's expense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go.
And then the mother sitting there and saying, I'm going to do it for you. I would hand her the wand and do the dilation and everything. And it's kind of like, I mean, it's almost becoming more clear as Jazz is getting ready to leave the house or already has. They got into Harvard, by the way. As they're getting ready to leave, it's becoming more apparent how much the mother is involved in this. With Jazz and all of this medical stuff and all of this trans stuff, how involved. Remember, it's supposedly up to the child. It's supposedly their choice. This is their journey.
How old is Jazz now?
22.
So she's 22.
Yes.
And Jazz doesn't even take care of her own thing.
Well, they're trying to make, according to the episodes that are happening now, is they are trying to make her more responsible. Like, oh, we're not going to, like, getting up early in the morning, stuff like that. She can't even get up in the morning.
God, we need to check in with, if she doesn't have like a manager or somebody that takes her over as a celebrity in Hollywood and just make sure she does all this crazy shit, we're going to check in with Jazz in 15 years and it's going to be like wasteland.
Oh,
wasteland
have
genitally.
Photos. Oh, I have photos. Jeff, can you bring up the 2 Jazz photos for me so Ross can take a look?
Oh.
That is Jazz. Now, you saw at the dinner table, that was 5 years ago. This is Jazz now. And that was part of the responsibility thing I was telling you about. She tried doing a diet. And then because like she's eating constantly. Think about it, all those medications and antidepressants and even the hormones, female hormones, it makes you eat.
It does?
Yes, I think a progesterone. Don't quote me on that, everyone. I don't know which one, but yes, there's it makes you hungry. There's certain, just goes along with the hormone.
Well, I know that Wellbutrin makes you hungry. That's for sure.
Well, hormones and these, antidepressants. How many antidepressants and antipsychotics is she on? Probably a plethora of them. The diet was stopped. The diet was stopped like in a very short amount of time because she said her mental health was suffering from it and her family was always on her. They were trying to help her, but she stopped the diet now.
So she's just eating whatever she wants.
Right. So she's not sticking with anything. How is she going to be out on her own because she's so used to her mom and dad doing everything for her or the people around her?
I don't know. I don't feel like this is going to end well.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's just we shouldn't be messing with these kids like this, man. That's my opinion. Because here's why.
But they don't even do gender-affirming surgery on minors, you idiots.
At 16, the very first medical intervention I ever had was a double mastectomy.
Huh.
A few months later, I was then put on cross-sex hormones. I am now 21. I live with constant joint pain, to the point that it is so bad that I have not been able to get out of bed to go to class some days. My vocal cords ache, my breasts are gone, and I will never know if I will be able to carry a child, because there's a good possibility I'm sterile. You call this care. I could not consent to this due to both my age and my mental health conditions, yet you call this care. My parents were baited with the idea that I would commit suicide if this was not given to me. They were told, would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? These are not the words of a doctor. They are the words of a politically motivated activist. Kids deserve a chance to grow up whole.
This is wrong, and they are doing it to minors.
Yeah, so kids deserve a chance to grow up whole. I think that trans person who was formerly trans, they detransitioned. I think they said it best. Kids deserve a chance to grow up whole. You can do what you want after 18.
Right.
But there's no way of us knowing whether you are going to persist in this or not. And it just seems wrong to do it.
It really does. It really does.
You have to, number one, you have to mutilate a person. You essentially, very frequently, you cause them to be sterile forever. You know, and it's just like, this is not a free exchange. So,
and it's all at the child's expense, their life thereafter. I just, in this situation with Jazz, I feel like the mother is very center of this instead of Jazz.
Well, Jordan Peterson said something about that recently. He was talking about this woman who was talking at some public event, and she said, one of my kids is trans and one of my kids is pan something, 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 something. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, well, let's do the math there. You know, and he started going over the math, and he said, so you're telling me that there's a 1 in 1 million chance that one of your children is this, and then the same probability for the other child to be pansexual is less than 10,000 million times. So you've convinced one of them to be this way, and you are to blame, you know? And he's like, so you're a crazy individual who's enforcing these things to your children. And I'm just like, that's true.
It really is.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, homeschool your kids.
Let's move on to something a little bit
Trump
fluffier.
Arrest or something. Is there anything fluffier?
I don't know.
Do we got anything fluffy?
That's about it. The worst is the next one is even less fluffy.
Yeah. So essentially, Stormy Daniels, which is the
Stormy?
ex-porn star who was trying to go after Trump for something. She ended up having to pay $300,000 to Trump for bullshitting. And the lawyer, or the attorney that brought that thing forward, is going to jail for trying to do that, right? But that same type of thing that same genre of that category that Trump apparently paid $130,000 to get them to just shut up or something like that, or an NDA of some sort. This was 7 years ago. For felonies or whatever like this, you have to say something within 2 years. For misdemeanors, you have to say something within 5 years. So they're trying to attribute it to campaign finance laws by saying he used campaign money to do this, so they can extend it longer, even though they have no way to prove it. So what they're doing right now is essentially all this indictment is a fancy way of saying accusation. It's a polished accusation, right? But we don't know whether it's true or not. So I think the whole goal of it is to smear Trump even more. But the person that's bringing it forward, the prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, George Soros paid $1 million, or George Soros people, whatever. He puts his money in Open Societies Foundation and a bunch of other places. So they paid $1 million to have this guy get elected into his campaign. And so this same guy is the guy that said, we're not going to criminalize people that steal subway rides anymore. We're not going to decriminalize whatever. They've had a massive, massive increase in New York City for all these other issues.
I remember that.
So yeah, this is that guy. And so he's the one who's bringing this forward. But the other thing about Stormy Daniels that I didn't know until today was something from the real Toria Brooke. And I like following this girl. I've been following her on Instagram for a long time. She just got her Twitter back in the last week or so. They finally unbanned her on Twitter because Elon got around to it. I don't know what little task force of team he's got there, finally, taking the conservative voices out of jail. But I want to pull these tweets up because I want you guys to just follow this trend real quick. Look at this. So Stormy Daniels and her connection to the Nixon cult. Now, the Nixon cult was the cult in Hollywood that like the Smallville cast and Keith Rainier, a billionaire, had started a long time ago, where they were literally branding their initials into women's hips and in some cases near their genitals.
I remember they tried to cover up that case, something like that they were trying to keep the story down. But I remember reading and like, oh my gosh, that's a big deal. Smallville wasn't like super, super popular, but it was popular enough to where like you at least heard of it when it was in its prime. So yeah. I was floored that actress was involved.
Yeah, she was
nowhere.
Like helping to recruit people. But so I want you guys to kind of see how this works though behind the scenes, because I'll explain some of these names to you guys. So this is the real Toria Brooke. You guys should follow her. She's shadow banned to hell, but she's got great stuff to say. This is all allegation, by the way, everybody. This is no truth to what I'm saying, so that way nobody can censor this for saying it's misinformation. Okay. Threat: Stormy Daniels and her connection to Nixon cult. So the secret women's society within Nixon called DOS that abused and tortured women was founded because of the real Donald Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know if that's true, but the Nixon fancied itself a think tank like organization that used techniques much like Scientology to overcome personal fears to become wildly successful. They sought to place their members in every institution, from art to music to finance industry. DOS, the women's society within Nixon, is detailed in the Amazon Prime documentary The Vow, which tells of how the Nixon cult founder Keith Rainier was convicted of sex trafficking, child porn, trafficking underage girls, racketeering, forced labor, and more. Rainier, co-conspirator in Hollywood star Allison Mack, which is the girl in Smallville that was the reporter, Chloe, and Hollywood pled guilty to racketeering and forced labor. Neither Rainier nor Mack has been sentenced to. Okay, skip. DOS was created directly after 2016 election, after the election of Donald Trump. The women involved in it thought that they were forming a secret society to agitate against the presidency. There's no telling what their money and influence wrought in the unrest that followed the election. While the documentary does not go into detail, one witness in a recorded conversation tells about the founding of the secret sex club and why it happened. And it's all about resisting Trump. This admission sheds new light on the allegations by Stormy Daniels about the Donald Trump they're basically deployed against Donald Trump. So keep going. In 2018, 2 years after the election and well into the development of the DOS, Daniels came out with allegations that Trump paid her to keep quiet about a sex trust. Journalist Frank Darlato reported that Stormy Daniels was seen at least one Nixon event. Okay. A tweet from the now suspended account revealed that Ben Skis, I don't know how to say that, the man who said he attended the Nixon Mixer in Hamden, Connecticut in February 2007, stated, "To clear things up, this is a list of the people that I met at the Nixon recruitment party over a decade ago. Allison Mack, Keith Rainier, Stormy Daniels, Eric Schneiderman, Nancy Salzman, which is one of the head of the Bill and Melinda, not Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but the Clinton Foundation, the Global Clinton Initiative, whatever. She was a big part of that. Sarah Bronfman, that's a huge name. Claire Bronfman, the Bronfmans are, oh man, this gets deep. Okay, anyway, Catherine Oxenberg, Indy Oxenberg, Anthony Weiner, Weiner, he's the dude who had the stuff. Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's aide. Michael Avenatti and James Alefantis, which is the Comet ping pong guy that had Pizzagate.
Oh, okay.
Which is a conspiracy, but there was too much stuff on Instagram to call it a conspiracy. Anyway, all these people together. The secret sorority was so unhinged that they used a soldering iron to carve Keith Brenneer's and Allison Mack's initials into the members' bodies. For years, conservatives have been telling you that leftism is a mental disorder, and the election of Donald Trump has brought the reality out into the light. But the resist Trump connection to Nixon was completely covered up until this documentary let it slip, and we still don't know the extent of the actions that the DOS members took to resist Trump.
Wow.
I think I'm about to be initiated into a gang, or maybe it's a cult, said Stormy Daniels back in 2010. How deep does it go? It doesn't seem like anyone really wants to find out. The people convicted of these hideous crimes haven't even been sentenced, and their crimes have been known for years. That is the truth. And there is the branding on different people or whatever. But so anyway, those people are all connected to different things. So it makes sense that she might be dragging this out for other reasons. You know, she's kind of like their agent potentially in this alleged person, the Toria Brooks stuff. But what a find, if that's accurate. What a find, Tory Brooke. Good job.
Right. I got to admit, I don't believe that Trump did anything with Stormy Daniels. Now,
I don't either.
Do I think he might have had, other ladies and stuff like that? Yes, I do.
Maybe, yeah.
But not Stormy Daniels. He has way too much money. He would be able to afford a very, very pretty young lady. Stormy Daniels, even in her youth, was not very attractive. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why he called her, unfortunately, Horseface. Horseface Daniels, yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. No, I do not
think this is not the first person that came through with an allegation. The other person went on Anderson Cooper's show. Remember her? And she was like, and then she was just completely whacked out. Insane. Like the CIA had replaced her brain or something is what it felt like. You know what I mean? Like she was just like, oh, this is exciting to be here. Like it was
so
just
weird.
Such a bizarre interview. And even Anderson Cooper was like, all right, let's cut to a commercial.
Mistake.
Yeah, I made a funny video about that like 2 years ago. But so anyway, this is the situation. This is the person that they're bringing forward to talk about this nonsense, right? Which she's already been in trouble for, I guess, some fraudulent statements about it. So this is the stuff that we're still going on about. But right now, I have pictures of Hunter Biden smoking crack. I have emails saying that Joe Biden essentially was getting 10% of the money that Hunter Biden was getting from China. And nobody's doing anything.
No one cares.
And so it's like this whole thing's just a joke. I don't know what's going to happen from it. Trump's supposed to get arrested today. Nothing's happened from it as far as I can tell. If something does happen, Jeff, let me know. But I'm not seeing anything. Meanwhile, all this bullshit's happening, and Xi Jinping and Putin are over in Russia becoming best friends. Roll this tape, Jeff. Just our two greatest enemies, two greatest, potential rivals hanging out together, high-fiving while we're trying to figure out how many more diverse rainbow squad people we can put into the actual cabinet of the president. You know what I mean? It's
it's true.
We've straight up given away our sovereignty over the globe. And to be honest, I'm not for that. As far as, because look, there's two versions of America. It's what me and you think America should be and how America has been. The way America has been whoever the richest bidder were basically was able to pay to have our military do whatever they needed our military to do to rearrange governments across the world. That's why we tromped around in the Middle East for so ever long. So our military has been the most strategic piece of toolage used by the elites to do whatever they wanted. I think that needs to end. But I'm more afraid. I don't even know. It's just like I can't pick the best. You know what I'm saying? Like Russia, China, or the United States. Like the United States would be like they would make everybody. They go out there and put a gunpoint and make you blow a ding dong. That's like what the U.S. would do to you. China's going to put you all in prison camps and censor you for everything. And Russia's just going to beat you up and throw you away if you complain about the government. All of it's bad. All of it's bad. But our two enemies, quote unquote, just got together and became besties because we're doing dumb crap and trying to get NATO to improve and push more Ukraine.
I think when Putin says, I think this came out recently, like, hey, if you keep pushing on this border, the Ukraine and we might as well say it's the U.S. because that's who's over there and that's what's being used and that's what's money is being funding. So we might as well call it the U.S. even if it's technically Ukrainian soldiers doing it. But Russia threatened to use nuclear force if you keep pushing. That was literally said like a couple weeks ago or something like that. People are treating it so nonchalantly. Oh, they don't have anything. Like even people that I admire, like Sebastian Gorka, like he's sitting there saying, oh, they're sitting there talking about that silly nuclear stuff. That don't worry, guys. He's just talking crap. You know, then that means he has nothing to lose. And what happens when you're pushing a country like that or a person into a
with
corner
$100 billion
nothing.
of effort too?
Yes, that's a lot. We're basically the enemy.
Yeah, we didn't give him 30 mil. We gave him $100 billion to try and solve this. That's obviously
and counting.
And counting. Yeah, I don't know what to think right now, man. I'm just so exhausted by everything that's been going on. You know what I mean? It's just like every day. And it looks like Trump's going to get indicted tomorrow, by the way. It looks like they're asking him to surrender peacefully. Not today, but tomorrow. So I'll probably go live at some point tomorrow on YouTube, everybody. Be paying attention.
You know what it is? It's a representative of it is that what we were just talking about. What is the U.S. worried about? What we just talked about before. Who's, like you said, the different gender, a new gender that they want to add, a new identity, a new this, a new skin color for that. It's not just in the White House. It's everywhere. Do you want to keep your ding dong? Do you not like your ding dong? Do you not like your tatas? You know, like,
yeah, it's the exact thing that you would expect us to be fighting about if China paid to influence everything that's happening here. So we would just stop messing with them so they could do what they're doing now, which is control everything.
They've literally told us that. They've told us, like, communists, former communists and KGB people, I forget the name, the famous one that probably you're thinking about too.
Yeah, okay.
Literally told us what was going to happen. And it's happening in real time.
Yeah. I don't know where this ends. 2024, the election is, I mean, like, imagine Trump gets in, the war ends day one. That's got to happen. And then if the war's still going by then, I mean, who even knows? I mean, really, I don't even know what their goal is with this. Whatever it is, you can't imagine that Biden's not cooperating with Xi Jinping. So it's like, this is like everybody's two-faced. You never know what anybody's real agenda is, except all of a sudden America's weaker on the entire world stage somehow because the values and the core that Americans actually have, the Bill of Rights and all that, if that was the hegemony, but controlling the world still, that idea of a thing that should be the Bill of Rights, that does not allow for China, Russia, all these other countries that want to do evil shit to their citizens. You can't if the world police has a higher standard of morality and how you have to treat your people than you do.
Right.
So what they've done, essentially, imagine if Trump gets back in. Well, he believes in the Bill of Rights. He believes in not allowing people to suffer needlessly and all that. He would get in the way of a lot of the tortures and the organ harvesting and the stuff that all these other countries do all the time, and the mass censorship and the mass surveillance that they want to employ. And so it makes sense that what they were doing is paying the person in charge of the strongest, economy and the strongest thing in the world to kill itself. So that it's out of the way.
That was the only way it could be done because they couldn't do it like
they couldn't do it with a real war,
right? Exactly.
So they had to come in from the inside,
just like this.
Yeah, and they're doing it. And here we are, 2 years into basically the most heinous presidency, and they're making a mockery out of everything. Yeah. Well, the other thing is too is this arrest of Trump. If they actually try to go through with it or whatever, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get picture taken, fingerprints done, and then it's over because they can't prove anything yet anyway. So it's going to get out on bail and whatever the hell else, but. Listen, the thing is that the world is like, this is going to be, these next 2 years are going to be freaking crazy starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like starting tomorrow, it's going to determine like what this next chunk of time looks like or whatever. And it's going to be crazy because
I don't know if I have the energy for it.
I don't have the energy for it. Nobody has the energy for it.
And did you hear too that the charges are, I think, akin to misdemeanors? Don't quote me on that. But the charges that
they don't even know what they're doing yet. They don't even know what it will be.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like they don't have an absolute, because they can't say that it was breaking campaign finance law or anything like that.
What's in the affidavit then?
An affidavit is just somebody saying that they guarantee something happened under penalty of perjury, essentially.
But if they don't have anything, I thought they had something at least but it was misdemeanor. It can't be, I think it's like, it can't be like felony charge. So yeah, they're trying to make it felony charge. I'm glad at least McCarthy, did you see what McCarthy came out and said? Like if one penny has gone to this indictment of Trump, they're going to find out that like he stopped all the committees and say, focus on that. Like, that's what I want you to look at. And I agree. It's kind of like, this is getting ridiculous. It's been 3 lawyers from New York.
Right.
That have tried, like big, high up in government lawyers. I don't know if other people probably have.
I mean, even
trying it.
Dershowitz was like, this is a joke. Alan Dershowitz, he's like a
yes,
huge.
yes.
Yeah. Everybody said like there was other prosecutors that are like, we can't even touch this. This is dumb to even go after. But he was like, I'm going to try. And it's just like anything they can get him for. Like the whole world is burning and Trump is the last thing standing in the way of like what they want to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like.
But then they're burning the world behind it, and the people that they need to be plebs and the people that they need to control and stay in line while they go after Trump, you're burning so many things around it that they're starting to get pissed. That's what I think. I mean, I have hope.
I mean, I think this is going to be I hope this is a wake up call to everybody. Like, you just arrested the former president of the United States for some bullshit that has nothing to do with any of the stuff they said about him for the last 10 years. And this is just some new shit, you know what I'm saying? Or it's really old shit that's almost irrelevant, like entirely, like who cares?
Did you see the TikTok that went viral? It's doing exactly what you said. It was I think it was a black guy, an older black guy. He was talking about apologizing to Trump. And this was recently, only a couple months ago. Yes, he was apologizing to Donald Trump and everything and saying that basically like, oh my gosh, you were right. We've been lied to this whole time. So I think there are people waking up, even like hardcore Democrats like he seemed to be. People are waking up. So yeah. I'm hoping for more, but you're right. I think him being arrested, because it's clear now that it's like political, is going to maybe make more people like, get your head out of the hole, and look around.
Yeah, like this is obviously like they've been trying to do this the whole time. The whole time. It's been the same people behind the scenes trying to get this particular thing done. What done? Weaken the United States so that China can surge ahead and that we can basically help usher in Agenda 2030, because that's there's two opposing forces in the world right now. You've got the people, the globalists, and then you've got Russia and China.
You don't think they're on the same team?
No, I think they have similar things that they want done because they want more control of the population. So they agree with certain mechanisms that both of them are like, well, no matter who wins this thing, we got to be able to control people's movement. And so China agrees with that, and so does the globalists, right? So they agree on certain ideals, right? But like, they're trying to be able to do their own thing, and they're like, no, you have to submit to all these stupid rules that have nothing to do with the climate, but they'll tell you that it does, but it's really because they want to get control of your fertilizer and control all of your capital. You know what I'm saying? And China and Russia are like, screw you, we're not doing this or whatever. So there's like this, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. Everybody that said there was a plan, you know what I'm saying? I hope they still think that there's one, but like, if not, like you're the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like you better get up and do something. And by something, I mean,
take your kids out of public schools. There's so many things that you can do. Even
become self-sufficient, tell the truth,
right, tell the truth. Exactly. That kind of stuff. Like, even if you don't have
look
to
up
shout
the truth. Just look up the truth so that you're at least knowledgeable.
Yeah, exactly.
How does corruption work? How does your neighborhood get its crap? How much money did George Soros put into your local DA race? I'm like, who's George Soros? How many other countries has he screwed?
It's all public information, but it's just that they know that the citizens, we don't really do that. We're
too comfortable here.
We're too comfortable. Oh, yeah.
We're too comfortable in the United States. Everything's been so good. Why would I look into stuff? Why would I? There's no threats in the world. Why would anybody look? Everything's so safe and peaceful here. There's no threats.
In fact, we need to make it safer.
Yeah, we should just make sure there's no threats anywhere. We should take all guns from everybody. And it's like, dude, this is just getting dumb.
Yeah.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for next week's episode. We might be coming on live tomorrow. Stay in the fight, everybody. Stay focused. Tell the truth. Go find out the truth. And keep shedding the good news, man. God loves you. He's got a plan for things. Some of that plan might be really hard times, but at least you get to know the truth. And no society in history, besides in the last 200 years, has ever lived with as much peace as we've experienced in the United States as far as the freedom of things. So even if it does get really, really bad, we're just joining the ranks of all of history by going through difficult things. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty normal in the course of human events. God bless everybody. You guys have a good one. Subscribe, do all the stuff. And we'll see you next week.